Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continue today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the gold standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thank you for joining us on the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn back together again, and we are so glad you are with us. Ken, you look very handsome today in your Make America Great Again hat.
I really didn't think that the talk about a potential assassination attempt by one and only Ken Russo over the last few weeks was really going to hold water, but
predictions pay out sometimes, and not in the best ways. I know you. I mean, what have we said with when we talk about Donald Trump? We say they've thrown everything at him, thrown everything at his business, his family, the lawfare, and then you've said it. And I know a lot of people had this fear in their heart that the next thing would be an assassination attempt, and that's exactly what we saw last weekend. And in Butler, Pennsylvania, it seems that there was a threat on President Trump already from Iran. And he had a Secret Service protection, but it seems something went wrong, and they forgot to secure what seemed to be a rooftop very close to where President Trump was standing, just 130 yards away.
This is crazy times, Jen. You know, It's sinister, evilness at play here, a lot of evil versus good, and we'll see how it all plays out. You know, I know we kid around and we have fun and we talk about how we can protect our money from this stuff, but if there's people out there that don't think that this chaos isn't going to roll over into our financial system and everything else that's going on, I would say really wake up and understand where we're headed here.
It's really sad because I think for a long time we wanted to believe that evil isn't real, but it is. It's here, and our best intentions are not at the forefront. And that's why we talk about protecting yourself. That's why we talk about separating yourself away from the chaos. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
And what the title of the show, actually, Trump has hinted about a return to a gold standard, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, you know. And, Jen, when you think about our system, it's a central banking system, built on printed money, that a private corporation, that
the Fed,
Federal Reserve Bank, that doesn't have to pay taxes or even not even open to being audited. These are the people that loan us borrowed money, print it out of thin air, and then our government actually pays interest on it.
Money laundering, anyone?
It just breeds corruption, and it breeds fraud. And when you have a system that is so fraudulent and full of so much corruption, I mean, wouldn't chaos ensue in some form? So we are headed again in that direction. Seems to come up every 15 or 20 years or so. But in my opinion, and when we talk to a lot of our clients, they can see it, they can feel it, and they know that we're getting very close to something even more bizarre or more important happening. I mean, 40 banks in China closed over the weekend.
Wow.
When was
you
the last
think that's
time?
Breaking news.
Well, I mean, I understand that this past week there is some other stuff that, but you still wouldn't hear about it anyway, about the, banking crisis, somewhere else in a big part of the world, very influential, economy, and the property situation and commercial real estate that's going to be an issue there. And I ultimately think the commercial real estate problem here in the States is going to be a trigger for maybe the next financial crisis. So I did think, though, Jen, today, I follow a lady. Her name is Praying Mantis.
I've heard of her, yeah.
She writes a blog, which I would encourage everyone to read. It's free. And then you could also pay for her Substack if you wanted to. But at the end of each of her blogs, she writes a prayer. And I thought that a prayer today, based on what happened with President Trump over the weekend and where our country is basically at this point, I thought that it might be a good idea. Maybe we could read the prayer together.
Absolutely.
Maybe I could read the first paragraph, you could do the second one.
Sure.
And then I could read the last one.
I love it.
Okay. It says, Father in heaven, we give thanks for your continued protection over President Trump. Infuse him with extraordinary courage, unwavering health, and unparalleled favor as he works to implement his vision to save America and make her once again a shining path for the rest of the world.
Lord, equip all those who are still on the fence with a renewed conviction to participate. In the affairs of government, open eyes and ears of those who remain unconcerned, ignorant or deceived by the agenda and manipulations of the spirit of apathy and complacency. Use this assassination attempt to bring about not only a political realization, but a spiritual conversion of those who remain left behind.
Unravel the plots against the president and bring to justice those who have been derelict in their duty or actively attempting to thwart your agenda for this country. Release your mighty angels to do battle in the spirit and confound the plans of man and those who serve the evil agenda of the enemy.
That's really beautiful.
Yes. Amen. Praying
Amen.
mantis.
You know, it seems that this is a time, too, when I think so many of us have woken up to a lot of the corruption. I think we always wanted to trust our government. And as we talked about, their best intentions sometimes just are not ours, and they don't have our best intentions in their focus. And I think it's really important that we pray that people wake up and get involved in the process and are active participants in saving our country. Because truly, if we're not all active participants, I don't care how you vote or where you believe, if you're not a part of the process, you're a part of the problem.
Yeah, and with a heavy heart, not to be disrespectful to any situation. I know we talk about, money, and we talk about what's going on with our dollar and the purchasing power of it and the buying power and the safety of the banking system and the bubbles that are formed by abnormally low interest rates for decades and trillions of dollars that's added to the monetary system just out of thin air. But I mean, seriously, what happened, I think it affects people in different ways. And I could relate to that. But it's very disheartening to know that the greatest country in the world with the greatest system and the greatest opportunity in the world would be in the situation that we are today. And the problem is that, when they say sometimes you have to hit rock bottom or you have to hit your lowest point before you can kind of, come out of the other side better. We will come out of this better.
I agree.
And it's because of efforts like we're seeing from certain individuals, who want to return our country to the republic that it should be.
Yeah.
They want to return our monetary system to real sound money, that's only produced by the Congress according to the Constitution. And it's backed by something. Trump has mentioned before that he does like gold.
Yeah.
And that he would favor sort of gold standard.
I've been to Mar-a-Lago. I know he likes gold. It's everywhere.
So,
But let's talk about that because
Yeah.
God bless the country and God bless President Trump and God bless all of you. I know we talk about gold and precious metals and we kind of laugh.
This is to say not God bless people who don't support the MAGA movement. I mean, they're not support Make America Great Again or, America First. I mean, this is all about the best for our country.
Right.
Now, what we saw Saturday, is
That's
that the
not the
best
best.
for our country? I mean,
Not the
seriously? Best. So, but money-wise, President Trump has hinted about a return to a gold standard. There was some rumors about that in some articles back in 2019, and actually he's mentioned it a few times on the 2024 presidential campaign. In 2016, according to NPR, the article read, Trump favors returning to the gold standard. In 2017, President Trump replaced the dollar with gold. 2019, Trump Fed pick Judy Shelton is a very big proponent of gold and a potential gold standard. She supports the gold standard. So I think that President Trump likes good economy, for sure. He likes good business. He likes the conditions that support that. And I think he really likes to see the average American prosper. And how could we be in a system to prosper when our money is continually losing value,
right,
when it's continually being, drowned in debt, when our whole banking system is leveraged to the hilt, that's not a healthy monetary environment. And there's actually been some rumors that he would possibly dismantle the Federal Reserve Bank. And the last person who said that they possibly wanted to dismantle the Federal Reserve Bank or possibly go on some sort of a silver standard was JFK.
Yeah, what happened to him?
Well, yeah, exactly. So if you talk about removing the Fed and you talk about monetizing gold and silver, possibly some bad things happen. So
they would say those are radical ideas, right?
Yes.
Now, let's before we move further on this, I know that there would be someone who would be very upset with the decision to put us back on the gold standard, and that would probably be the guy who took us off, which is Richard Nixon.
Full fiat. I love it. Long live full fiat.
I can't do a show without having Richard Nixon.
For people that are saying, who is this idiot just doing stuff? I mean, President Nixon in 1971 was ultimately the scapegoat that took the dollar off the gold standard. Gold at that point became a credit dollar, full fiat. And from that point on, it's been just a ski slope down for the value and the purchasing power of our dollar. Debt out the wazoo, government agencies out the wazoo, unfunded money out of thin air for war. And it gets us to a situation where we are today where legitimately the whole system is on the brink of probably collapsing.
So we're up against a break, but we've got another minute here. And I do want to understand, because you are the expert here, if President Trump were to put us back on the gold standard, if we were starting to back our money with gold, what would that mean for the average person?
Well, first of all, it would mean an extremely high price for gold because obviously the government's going to want to do that and have it in their advantage. So if they own potentially 8,000 tons of gold, it's going to probably be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 gold. They need a boost too, right?
Sure.
But for the average American, if our money was backed by something real like a tangible asset, that means that the inflation that we're experiencing now would pretty much be non-existent because you have a steady purchasing power when it comes to your money, rather than a fiat currency that is built to fail and continually loses purchasing power and buying power the more and more and more that the government prints it out of thin air.
We're going to talk more about that. Plus, we'll also talk about gold IRAs and putting that into practice. It's the Gold Standard Radio Show. You can call Midas Gold Group 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. It's a Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back. It's the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn back together again. Thank you all for joining us. And a tough week, I think, for our nation. I think we all know we can do a little better than what we've seen over the last week, but
tough 3.5 years.
That's true. That is
real
true.
Tough.
Real
historically tough.
And we were talking about President Trump saying that if he were to win re-election, that he would bring us back to the gold standard. He'd bring us back on the gold standard. He'd start backing our money with gold. This is a change that was made by Richard Nixon back in 1971.
Well, re-election, if you actually agree that he didn't win in 2000.
This is true.
You know,
re-election again, maybe.
Some of us may believe that he's still the president, but we'll talk about that another day.
You know, that maybe another episode, maybe next week. But in any case, there's all sorts of ways that you can add gold. There's all sorts of ways that you can hold gold. Well, that rhymes. We should write that down. One of those things, and I know you wanted to talk about this, and I'm very interested, is a gold IRA. So take us through what that looks like for people. I know it's a really popular way for people to kind of get into gold and silver and precious metals, right?
Yeah, and I think, Jen, let's make a conscious effort, according to a suggestion by Joe and M.
Yes.
Let's try and sometimes keep
dumb
things...
it down.
Yeah, to a degree.
Not even dumb it down, but
dumb it down,
keep it simple.
Yeah, let's really explain real life scenarios where if somebody's out there, they said, well, okay, I'd like to own gold. How do I do it?
Right. What do I do? What's the best way?
Yeah, or even how. You know what I mean? Because this is about holding someone's hand and walking them through the process.
Because this is confusing, and this is why it's really important to find someone that you like. That
it doesn't
can
have to be
through
confusing. It's very simple, actually, but like anything else, if you don't know about it, sometimes it could be a little intimidating.
You don't know what you don't know.
But just by being intimidating, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try and arm yourself for what's coming financially. So let's talk about the gold IRA.
Okay.
First of all, if you have some liquid funds like in a bank or any type of a non-qualified account, you could always send your gold dealer a check.
And liquid means a savings account, basically
savings
that
checking,
you don't need right
CD.
now.
Well, it's outside of an IRA or it's an outside of a retirement account.
Sure.
And you can send your gold dealer a check or you can send them a bank wire and they send you your gold and your silver and you bury it in your yard, or like Joan said, in her neighbor's garden.
They'll never find it in my neighbor's house.
Yeah, not even with a Thomas guide. No. That's what she said. And that's called physical cash delivery, whatever you want to call it.
You pay for it, take some money, you order the gold can come, and it can come through the mail, right? You can go in person.
Well,
and
we
pick
don't
it
like
up.
to use the post office.
Use?
We use usually FedEx
Federal
with a
Express.
tracking number. It has insurance, UPS. They do a nice job.
Okay.
So let's suppose that you're a person and you have an IRA. Traditional IRA, Roth IRA, SEP, whatever.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to use me. So through the years of my 20s, I started funding my Roth IRA. I was given that advice, but now I don't really do much with it. It just kind of sits there.
All right. Well, let's
for that example.
Okay, well, let's say you thought that your Roth IRA would be better in this environment, diversified somewhat or all of it into gold and silver. And you wanted to own tangible bars and coins. You didn't want to own paper, precious metals. You don't want paper gold. You don't want mining shares. You don't want gold ETFs, that sort of thing, okay? You want the actual products.
Stuff I can look at.
You can take your existing Roth IRA and you transfer it tax-free, obviously, into a gold Roth IRA. And instead of being invested in paper assets, you could replace those paper assets with gold and silver, coins and bars. And those coins and bars would be held at a depository until you decide to take it out. Okay? When you take funds or metals out of an IRA, that's called a distribution. So if you're in a position in your life where you want to take money out of your IRA, or in this case, you want to take your gold or silver out of an IRA, you can do that. You could declare that as a distribution, and then you can deal with your taxes the following year on your tax form.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's a Roth IRA, taxes would not imply because that's tax-free money.
Sure.
You've already paid taxes on that. And obviously, you always ask your accountant any accounting questions. We don't give financial advice or provide accounting questions answered. Or you might have a traditional IRA where you can transfer those funds tax-free into a gold traditional IRA, and then you could use those funds that you transferred to invoice and purchase your gold and silver, and it's held in a depository until you decide to take it out.
So someone holds it for you, basically.
Yeah. There is a way for you to use your IRA funds or your old retirement account, maybe a 401k, and you could roll it into a gold IRA LLC, and you could actually hold your gold and silver yourself.
Is there a benefit?
Well, the benefit is that you hold it It's not at a depository, but there are some pros and cons that I would like to talk about with each individual person so they know exactly what those are.
Right, what's best for them.
That's right. And what's frowned upon, what's not frowned upon, what could come up in the future, what couldn't come up, what you may be liable for, what you may not be liable for, and then we make a great decision. Okay. This is about each individual situation. We have some tools that we could work with, and then we have to find out what is best for that particular client. If you have an old employer, maybe like an old 401k or maybe a thrift savings plan or maybe a 403b, you could do a rollover into a traditional IRA, tax-free, and then once you roll those funds over into a gold traditional IRA, you can then use those funds the same way to purchase gold, silver, and platinum and have yourself a portfolio, a retirement account that's not solely reliant on the paper markets. You would then have a tangible asset inside your retirement account until you decide to either sell it, which we help our clients with too, or take delivery of those precious metals through a distribution.
So eventually you could either hold them at home or you could sell them, whatever happens down the road. And that IRA is just kind of the go-between between that old 401k or that old employee account and then where you are today.
Yeah, and it's for people that don't want to hold, assets connected to a banking system, that's pretty much dying, right? They don't want to possibly be involved in certain type of government or market agendas,
right?
That maybe they don't feel great about or support. Maybe they don't like BlackRock or State Street or Fidelity or maybe some of these other companies. There's so many of them. Maybe they would just rather have real money, something that has a long track record, of being a store of value, something that they can get to if they need to. Don't forget, if something really squirrely happens and somebody says, well, I can't get to my bank account, I can't get to my stock account. Well, if you call the depository, send in the form, they send you your precious metals.
So you can get at them pretty easily, even.
I think much easier than you would in a collapsed system if your assets were held digitally or in paper form at a banking institution.
Because this is something real, you'd fill out the form, they could send it to you. And when people look at a gold IRA, is there a top reason? I know everybody's got different situations, but is it usually that people are looking to hedge against inflation because gold has held its value over time? Is that their top reason, or are there other reasons too?
They're definitely hedging their bets against inflation. They're hedging their bets against a stock market that's probably in a bubble, right? Eventually, it's going to blow up. I mean, it's been a great market since the financial crisis, but we're probably due for a big spill, right? Not that we know or have a crystal ball, but it could happen. People do it for privacy because they don't want the government to know what consists inside of their IRA. So it's reported to the government that there's a value, but it's not specifically reported of what they exactly have. So that's a good situation to be at a self-directed IRA company and have alternative assets. That's kind of how you look at this. But then there's just other people that just are not confident in the market. They're not sure if a casino, how it's going to end. They don't know what they're going to be left with. Other nations have monetized and nationalized retirement accounts before and taken them over. So if you have a tangible asset, that's not going to happen. If you have money, in the form of gold or silver, you're protecting yourself from these things. It's about preparing, Jen, for what's coming. And I would look at the gold IRA, just like gold and silver in your possession, as it's better if I have it and I don't need it.
Right.
Rather than I really need it right now and I don't have it and I can't get to it. The government won't allow me to get to my money. I can't move it around. There's some pretty good evidence that we could be in a very short period of time in a situation like that.
You know what? It's a good idea to reach out if you've got questions. Call Midas Gold Group. Get your questions answered this week. That was really informative. Thank you for taking us through that. I think that answers a lot of questions about another way to hold gold and precious metals. 855-322-4653. That's the number for Midas Gold Group. Call this week with your questions. 855-322-GOLD. 855-322-4653. You can also go online. All the resources there as well. MidasGoldGroup.com. That's MidasGoldGroup.com. 855-322-GOLD. Thanks for joining us. It is the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.